Run with Chestnut.
Welcome to the Run with Chestnut podcast. This is episode number 23, and today we are talking about how us as blind people create the mental images that we have in our minds of the people we know. Like, how do we know what people look like? How do we picture what people look like if we've never actually seen them? Or if we've seen them like 10, 15 years ago, how do we think they look now? All this and more in a moment. But before then, let me introduce you to our two guests, our two hosts today, and I actually have an update for you all from a few episodes ago. But before that, hello, Simon. Hello, Melissa.
Hello.
Way to step on me, Simon. Good job. Anyway,
Sorry.
So my update. A few episodes ago, maybe somewhere in the teens when we still had our angst going on as a podcast, I told you about a dinosaur that was being put on auction. Do you remember this, Melissa?
Yes.
And I told you that this dinosaur was, I think it was a T-Rex. Maybe wrong. This is all by memory. This dinosaur was being put on auction, potentially for $6 to $8 million. And it had 188 bones, which was the most like full, the most intact fossil ever found of this type of dinosaur. Each teeth was like 11 inches long. So massive dinosaur. And at the time we were talking about how assembly not included. Like you had to assemble it yourself when you got it, which I thought was really funny. Anyway, that dinosaur was sold on auction. And guess how much money it went for? Melissa. I think Simon might have heard. But Melissa, tell me. It was supposed to go for $6 to $8 million.
10?
How much do you think? 10? Okay. Now again, disclaimer, I do not remember exactly. I read this a few days ago. But it actually went for something like $30 or $40 million. Which is the most a dinosaur fossil has ever gone for.
I know.
So that's pretty cool. I just like to think of it, sitting in someone's living room.
People have a lot of money, just saying.
Yeah.
Yes,
well, we don't actually know who bought it. It might have been bought by a museum or something like that, but
maybe.
Regardless.
But no, I like the image of the living room better.
Yeah.
Like, yes, and here's our parlor.
Some people have like a little statue of a dog, on the top of their radiator. Some people have a massive dinosaur fossil.
Uh-huh.
It's all about what kind of skill you like, I guess. So cool. That's my little update for you guys for this episode. I get this daily random news email thing about investing, or I should say, one of the emails had this included as like a fun fact at the end of the email. So that was cool. That is what we would call a COVID stock pop, where something you expect to go for $6 to $8 million actually pops at like $30 million. Kind of like recent IPOs.
What's COVID have to do with dinosaurs?
The COVID and stock market's very whatever. Long story. Anyway, shall we get to the topic of the day? I feel like this is the shortest intro we've ever had where we actually start talking about what we're supposed to be talking about, and it's only like a few minutes in. So, will this stick as a trend? I don't think so, but it's fine. Simon, tell the audience how this topic came about. What were you doing? What were you listening to? Tell them the story.
So somehow I stumbled onto a podcast, and the podcast, the host is a Navy SEAL, and he was interviewing a. Want
to give his name?
The podcast. Okay, so it's the Andy Stumpf podcast, and he has a podcast called Clear Hot.
Cleared Hot, yeah.
Cleared Hot.
I should say that that you found Andy Stumpf by listening to Jocko Willink, right?
Yes.
Which if you guys go back to episode 6 or 7, we reviewed or we talked about one of Jocko Willink's books, Extreme Ownership. But so Jocko has a podcast. On the podcast is a frequent guest, Andy Stumpf.
Well, I don't know if he's frequent. He's
pretty frequent. He's been on a few episodes at least.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So continue. You listened to the stuff? Cleared Hot?
Yeah, I listened to Cleared Hot, and I listened to an interview he did. Sorry, guys. Mouth is dry today. But I listened to an interview today, yesterday, that he did with a guy named Angel Cortez, who he was also from the military. He had a pretty interesting story. But what I was thinking was in my head, so if I had heard this guy's voice or even Andy Stumpf, maybe, I would not have guessed that they're from the military because, when you think of military, you have like a certain type in your head, or at least in my head, I had a certain type. And granted, I try not to stereotype people, and I mean, you shouldn't, but I mean, you just can't help it. Like the picture you have in your mind is what it is. But basically, I thought, oh wow, this is so interesting to see, all different kinds of people. And
I'm slightly confused. Don't you? I mean, this person is a Navy SEAL, you said, and he's interviewing. Didn't they introduce who this person is?
No, they did. I'm guessing what Simon's saying is that his voice is not a stereotypical.
Oh, I thought he didn't realize that the person. Okay.
Which goes to which makes me wonder, like, what am I trying to say? Which makes me wonder, like, there are all different kinds of people probably out there in the military, which it's not always the Hollywood stereotype of, like, I guess 6'5", like muscular.
Okay, but how would you know someone was 6'5" or muscular?
I guess like that's what they describe it as, or like
as who describes it as,
or the I don't know, but
well, no, because you just said
Where
that.
is this coming from, Simon?
Dude,
I guess.
Can you? Okay, could we rewind? Can you just get water because you sound like shit?
Yeah, hold
on.
And
you do that. You're doing that in the mic too.
Well, that was very nice of you, Francesco.
Well, we know we're recording, and you like got me in the mic.
Well, yeah, but we're not in the military. You could be nice about it. That just be. It's fine.
All right.
Okay, let's rewind.
Yes.
That was a lot. Okay, we can start after the dinosaur bullshit. We'll go right into the Simon. I mean, your thing. We can say their names.
Okay. I wasn't sure.
Yeah. Anyone remember how I led that in?
Going on to today's topic.
Yeah. Okay. We'll just do it like that. Good job. All right, couple seconds of silence, and we'll do that. All right, cool. So going on to today's topic, Simon, do you want to talk about how this all came to your head? You listened to a podcast recently. How did you start thinking about this idea?
Okay, so yesterday I listened to the Andy Stumpf podcast, which I found Andy Stumpf from another podcast called the Jocko podcast. And Jocko Willink, if you guys remember, we did a book review of his in the early episodes of our podcast called Extreme Ownership. And so I was listening to one of his podcasts. He has two, or I think three. But anyway, I was listening to one of his. Andy Stumpf was a guest. Then I listened to Andy Stumpf's podcast called Cleared Hot. And he was interviewing a guy named Angel Cortez, and he gave like a description saying that Angel Cortez gave a description. So he's from the military. He's about 5'5".
Wait, who gave a description of who?
Angel gave a description of himself.
Okay.
He's 5'5". In
what context? Just out of curiosity.
I think they were also talking about how, so I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, they were talking about him training on the mat with people and how, people think, oh, just because you're smaller or you're not your typical showy muscle, like 6 foot something dude, that, you can't take those people out. those big people out.
Yeah.
And he was saying how, he's only 5'5", and when people see that, they're like, oh, wow, that's amazing. You were even in the military. And in my head, I'm like, that's pretty true. Like, if ever I think of someone being in the military, or I think of someone, I would think like, oh, they need to be physically strong. They need to be big. They need to be like all that. And it kind of taught me that, like, that's not true. And
well, so the fact that they have to be physically strong doesn't. So, okay, the reason why I thought this was an interesting discussion was because you made an assumption based on someone's voice, right? Which is what people in general have to do this, or do this all the time. But we as blind people do it, I feel like, more than most people, because again, we don't have that visual sensory cue to let us know what people look like. So naturally, especially for those who are blind now but who had sight before, the tendency is to sort of paint this mental picture of what we think someone looks like based on their voice and their personality and different things like that. And so when, like, all these podcasts we listen to, like you mentioned 2 right there, or 3, or I guess 2, most people listening to podcasts don't have a mental picture of what this person looks like, right? But you can pull their picture up on your, like, Google or something and see. We can't do that. So it introduced a very interesting discussion in my head of how do we as blind people actually create, like, how do we know what people look like, Right. And real quick, there's a movie.
Face, of course.
Yeah, okay, thank you. That was exactly where I was about to go. There's a movie. I don't remember the name of the movie. Melissa, do you know?
I don't know what we're talking about.
Okay, so there's a movie where the main character, I think it's a guy, or whatever. There's a guy and a girl in a bar, and the one of them is like, hey, one of them's blind, and the other person's like, hey, do you want to feel my face or something? I think it's a movie. I don't remember, but
Sorry.
I've never seen it, but I've had that movie told to me a few times. Like, hey, are you like that? Like, is that how you like to see with people? And no, I've never had the urge to
because there's also that Netflix show.
Someone's face.
Me neither. And someone told me that they had.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
Someone told me, I've had people in the past say, "Oh, I let people feel my face and stuff." If
I've also been encouraged on the subway to do that, which I did not do.
It's just weird.
It happens.
Like, I've never had the urge to put my palm on someone's face.
Me neither.
Especially not in 2020.
Yeah. So, So that is sort of the stereotype maybe of how we get an idea of what someone's face looks like. And because that's not true, at least for the 3 of us, we don't think that's true. How do we actually do that? Right.
Well,
I thought, an interesting cue that I got was, so stereotypes are frowned upon, right? Like, you're not supposed to stereotype because you're generalizing a population, and oftentimes stereotypes are born out of minority, not minority in the sense of like racial minority, but minority in the sense of the fewer, right? Stereotypes are generally, like, they are not the most accurate thing, right? But by definition, stereotypes are what people know of their people, right? That's the sort of definition of what a stereotype is. So whether it's conscious or not, people in general, and we as blind people specifically, generally speaking, will use stereotypes, again, whether consciously or not, will use stereotypes to paint this image of what someone appearance is in our heads, right? And that could be as simple as a gender description in our heads. It could be a little more complex. It could be like what ethnic background they have, right? If they sound, quote unquote, from a certain country, right? They sound like they're from the South, or they sound like they're from, I don't know, Japan or something, then we'll picture them in a different way, right?
Right.
So, and again, it's interesting you brought this discussion up with me yesterday, Simon, because like you said, you were listening to the Andy Stumpf show, the Cleared Hot, and you were saying, which one to you did not sound like a traditional person in the military?
I would say probably both Andy Stumpf or Angel Cortez.
Okay, so I did not listen to the episode that you're talking about, so I don't know what Angel Cortez sounds like. I do know what Andy Stumpf sounds like. And if you compared Andy Stumpf's voice to say Jocko Willink's voice.
Jocko sounds more to me.
Jocko like Andy Stumpf sounds like the middle-aged man, like
Dad.
neighbor.
Or
Yeah. He's like the dude that you would meet, you know, and is like he's bringing his son to like the swim meet.
Yeah,
and you're like
and-
having a conversation about what type of sandals he's wearing.
Yes,
You know?
he definitely does.
He sounds
and
very approachable. He sounds like
he
a
does.
nice guy.
He does. Yes.
Yeah, but also like if he was your history teacher, you'd be like, can I, you know, like it's okay if I hand it in a day or two late, right? Yeah, okay, it's cool, right? You would do that. If Jocko Willink was your history teacher,
Oh no.
you would probably not want to do that.
No.
But it's funny we make those assumptions just
Yeah.
based on their voice. Right?
Jocko, no, wait, that's not to say Jocko Willink isn't a nice guy. Although I mean,
No, it's not. It has nothing to do with
Yeah.
their personalities. It has
right.
everything to do with our assumptions based on
Their
what we-
voice.
You know
Yes.
what?
Based on-
I had
Go
a
ahead.
really big, I guess, shock when. So I saw Frozen. I was in a very big Frozen craze, more for Frozen 1, but also Frozen 2 a little bit. And, well, I think we both were there, you know, Idina Menzel and Kristen Bell they play the two princesses. And I think for Idina Menzel, I'm really not happy with her getting the role because she, to me, just sounds too old no matter what. She just sounds like a woman who should be having kids who are princesses, you know? But then Anna, she sounded really, you know, happy, perky, teenagery in the movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, this really fits. I'm sure she's like in her mid-20s, maybe early 30s. I found she has kids. Like she's a woman. She's close to Idina Menzel's age. And I think they actually, someone asked them if they wanted to open up the Broadway show, and they said we would, but we look too old. And I was like, what? I mean, Idina Menzel, sure, but really? So, and then afterwards, I saw her in just other things and interviews, and I'm like, okay, now I see it when I see her, because like, you know, I can see her a little bit when I zoom in, and just the way she speaks without, I mean, I guess it's a little bit different because she's voice acting, but just the sound of the voice, no matter what you do with it, just, it could change so much based on if you're even looking at anything, because, you know, you're associating it with a little perky teenage princess, and all of a sudden, like, you watch an interview and it's like, oh, you're a woman. Hello.
Yeah.
Melissa, have you ever seen one of the Terminator movies?
No.
So do you know the name Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yes.
Okay.
But
Do you
nothing
know his
else.
voice?
No.
Okay. Simon, you know his voice.
Yes.
Okay. That's another example of someone that you have a very clear picture in your mind of,
What he looks like. Yes.
right? Like immediately.
Yes.
Right? Versus like when I saw like, okay, Melissa's talking about Frozen. Those are also very clear pictures that I have in my mind of what they look like, right? I didn't see the second one, but for the first one,
Right.
you know? And so,
Wait, did
I
you
think-
see it visually back then?
no. I mean, I watched, that's another thing. Yeah, we'll say C, but we don't actually mean C.
Yeah.
I watched the first, I
But you mean like you
listened
heard
to
their
the
voice
first movie.
through their
I did not
performances
listen to
of...
the second movie.
Oh.
Yeah.
Anyway, but so I guess there's two parts of this, right? There is the first part is what aspects of someone's voice or personality do we then translate into our mental image, right? That's sort of the first part.
Yeah.
And the second part is actually how do we create this image in our heads that then we can describe to people? Because maybe you're like Simon, and like Simon, have you ever seen someone's, like, do you remember what someone's face looks like?
I've never seen someone's face.
Right. So
Yeah.
how would you know what blonde versus like black hair looks like?
Oh, don't get me into this.
I don't. I just know black is dark, blonde is light. So
Right, but because you've never actually seen, or like you've never seen blue eyes or brown eyes,
right.
You've never seen what someone,
Right.
like what a muscular person versus a non-muscular, like you never visually see.
But you can feel that,
No.
though.
you can feel it, but
But I've never felt like a muscular person before, so I wouldn't.
well, but
You
even
never
if you
gave for
feel
Jessica a
it,
hug?
even if you feel it, I don't think it's the same as knowing what it visually looks like.
Oh, absolutely not.
No, but you can have, if you feel it, you can have a more visual picture in your head.
No,
And also-
it helps.
uh-huh.
It helps.
It helps.
But also, I think just knowing, like, if he does give you a hug and it's like, oh, he has, like, he still has the concept of muscles and all that probably comes with it, you know?
That's
like
part of it. But
working
again,
out, you know?
let's talk about something more subtle then. Again, like the blue eyes, the brown hair. If you say that someone's face looks weathered, you theoretically know what weathered means,
Yeah.
right? It means like it looks like they
Tired?
it means that it looks like they have handled a lot
Mm-hmm.
in their life in terms of, they've been usually weathered, as far as I know, is used in the context of like a warrior who has a weathered face. Like he's spent a lot of time outdoors, a lot of hard training, like, has like deep lines in his face because of all like the aggression. I don't know. Like that's my idea of weathered. But I can give you that definition, but doesn't mean you can picture it accurately.
Right.
Right. And even if you do picture it accurately, there's no way for you to know that it's accurate because there's no like frame of reference.
Right.
I think,
right.
yeah, something to add to that conversation is that I'm colorblind.
Right.
And I get asked all the time, so do you see in black and white? And I have a joke with one of my friends, and she's like, well, we can't know, so I'm just going to say that you see in all pink. And, whenever I see her, it's like, yeah, no, I see pink. But we can't know because I technically don't know what black and white. I see different shades of different things. I can do a black and white drawing, but if you give me a black and white drawing next to a drawing in a single color with different saturation and different lightnesses of that color, I probably wouldn't be able to tell which one is the black and white and which one is the toned.
I wonder if you would be able to tell if you had a panel of pink and a panel of blue and you got both of them in exactly the same tint, I guess.
Yeah.
If you would be able to tell a difference.
I don't think I would, because there's this drawing app that I use, and they have some color palettes, and there's 3 rows and say like 10 columns of little squares that have colors. And this one color palette, I have to ask somebody, but I only see 3. So it's supposed to be all little squares, different colors, but what I see is 3 lines, like 3 horizontal, like just 3 rows of single shade, I guess.
Yeah.
But what I'm guessing is happening there is that there are 3 colors and then different saturation, which I've had to learn through trial and error that means different, like on the spectrum from gray to full on color. Anyway, I might be getting technical, but like I just saw the 3 bars. And I don't understand why someone would want to make a color palette with all, like, you might as well just use 3 squares then, instead of the whole space. So I can't see the colors, but I will still ask if I go clothes shopping or something. I'll still ask what colors things are because I have a concept of colors. So I would say that I like orange and purple and I guess pink, just because that's the things that I associate with like girly or warm or just other features that I identify
in that.
Really?
It's not weird, but I'm just saying it's interesting because it's not like I mean, I guess the most stereotypical girl colors are like pink and purple.
I thought purple was more because blue isn't blue it's either pink and blue for when you get a kid, right? And you get purple by mixing blue and red, right? So
yeah,
I think that's what it was, and then you get orange by mixing red and yellow.
And but I'm just saying, like again, stereotypical. Like I like I like the color purple. I have a few race kits actually that have purple like highlights on the race kits.
Okay,
but stereotypically, purple is a girl color,
and orange is not.
No, orange is very much neutral.
Huh. Okay, well, I like the idea of it. See, that's what I mean. You at least.
That's what I said. It was funny that you include that because even if you don't see the color, like there's something about it that must have.
That identifies with things that I identify with.
Yes.
Like for me, I always identify red with ketchup or blood.
That's hilarious.
I love that.
Ketchup or blood.
So do you wear red, and Simon?
Do I what?
Do you like the color red? Like, would you buy a red shirt or?
Yes.
red something. So you
Yes.
like ketchup, is what you're saying.
I like ketchup, but I
here
also
was
like
expecting
horror.
like
so
you
love
also
or
like blood.
passion
Yes.
or something, and he's like
ketchup or blood. Yeah, that's basically what he said.
See, but that's so interesting. Like, I think the people who are fully sighted might have said love or passion or something, but because we don't experience color in the same way, we have these
Right,
weird,
exactly.
though not inaccurate, ideas of color.
Yep.
Right, because like, what do you hear most? Like, I'm sure from a day-to-day perspective, Simon, you don't hear red in relation to like the word passion or anything like that as
No.
much as you hear in relation to ketchup.
Yeah.
So that's just clear. That's just like automatically what you associate red with. But
Right.
for most sighted people, when you say red, they would not think. Most of the time, they would not think ketchup. They would think again passion or love or something like
Or
that.
food.
And I also
Or food.
associate black with like darkness and also like horror.
Okay, but that's a little easier because I think it pops up in books or
Yeah.
media
Yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff.
So the interesting. So I want to go around. Let's pick. Well, I guess I'm interested. I mean, I'm interested in hear what you say, Melissa, too. But more so, Simon. I want
okay.
you, Simon, to pick someone we know of, whether it's Jocko Willink or it's like someone, and just try to describe what they look like in your head.
Jeez.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
writing a book, Simon,
Try to
for
describe,
sighted
and
people.
I will. If I'll give you a second to think about that.
Oh, do you
And-
know what he looks like, Francesco?
No, I don't. So I will describe him, but I want Simon to go first.
Okay, I want to say
Because-
Jocko, but because I didn't know this till yesterday. But Andy Stump said Jocko was like 6 foot something, like or I don't know. He said he was pretty tall, so that's all I know. I'm pretty sure he is really muscular. God.
Is hold on. What color is Jocko's skin?
Oh, I don't want to. We're getting a little.
No, we're not. Tell me.
Okay, white.
But what shade?
What do you mean?
Like, what do you picture? Is he like a piece of paper, white? Is he like
You mean
light brown? Is like
no, I'm picturing like white, like
a piece of paper?
like me white.
Okay,
Yeah.
so for those who don't know, Simon's like Casper, the friendly ghost. So basically, like printer paper white. Okay, interesting.
Well,
What kind of hair?
actually, no. I'm sorry, I can't because he lives in the Southern California, so I take that back.
No, but again,
white,
but
but-
don't use logic though. Like 100%, just use what
But how can I not use logic if I?
because you're like trying to reason it out. I want you to go off 100% just from his voice, like the stereotype image that you build in your head of him.
Okay,
Don't
white.
be like, he lives in this climate, so logically he'll be exposed to sunlight.
All right, fine. Then white it is.
Okay, like a printer sheet.
Yes, and I also imagine having him like a bearded face.
Okay,
Kind of.
what color hair does Jocko have?
Oh God! See that I could never associate with someone's voice. I can't like that. I just can't picture.
Okay,
Um,
and again,
what
just to clarify, you have never seen someone's face in your entire life,
no.
right? Like Melissa, like I have had vision in my past. I don't have vision now. Melissa has had some sort of vision her entire life. You have had a little bit of vision, but you've never
Don't take away his light for a
had
second.
someone's.
Right. Oh, I could also picture him being very having a lot of hair like on his body.
Okay. And you said tall
Yes.
and muscular.
Yes.
See, okay, here's another thing I'll add to this, okay? People will often ask me, what do you think I look like? As in, what do I, as Francesco, what do I think that the person I'm
Yeah.
talking to, what do they look like? And yes, I have seen people in the past, but because I don't associate facial features and stuff with people, it's so like, here's an example. If someone has thin or full lips, right?
Okay.
I don't know what that means. Like
Neither.
theoretically,
Actually.
I guess like by the word definition, I guess it means like, oh, someone has like puffy or like thicker lip. Yeah, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like I can
Right.
put it together here, but I have zero visual reference of what that even means, let alone what that
yeah.
looks like on someone's face.
Yeah.
So
I see a lot of that with just like when they're describing characters in books and stuff, it gets really interesting with how, like, what does it mean to have a mousy face?
Okay, but that I like. If someone's described having a mousy face, I like that
I don't even
because
know what that
I
means.
can take the traits of what I think of as a mouse, like kind of scruffy and kind of like small and diminutive. You know what I mean? I can take those traits and
Yes.
kind of put them on top of someone. So I actually like it
But for
when they
me, that just makes
personify.
me think that they have whiskers and a snout, and like,
Well, okay, but you got to take it not literally, right? It's a metaphor.
well,
It's a-
yeah.
Right.
So yeah, so that I actually like. It's when they get really like exacting with describing them in comparison to other humans is when I start getting a little confused.
Oh, like,
Again, she had full lips. She had I don't know. Maybe the lip thing is just something for me because I've come across it a lot and I literally have zero frame of like I just have no idea.
oh no, I think I do get
small
what you mean,
nose or big
yeah,
like
because in reference to what is it? Small?
exactly. Like what if someone has a small nose versus an average nose? What does that even mean? Like again, logically, their nose is larger or small. Like I get it theoretically. I
struggle with that when drawing, actually, so that's a really
Yeah.
good point.
So, but again, funny. Okay, so I agree with you, Simon, on the Jocko description, except I picture him having darker skin, like very tanned white person.
Oh, okay.
Very like lined face. Because of all the time like spent outdoors and stuff. Very like lined, very like dark curly hair, like shorter but not like military short. It's so fun. Okay, so the reason why I started, I actually thought about this maybe a year or two ago. I was like, what do I think Jocko looks like? Because so if you don't know, he on Twitter he tweets out a picture of his wristwatch in the morning at like 4:25 a.m. or something. When he wakes up, right, and it just like has a little tweet.
I'm guessing the watch
there
has
are-
like workout stats or something.
No, it's just a regular old Timex watch. Like it just has the time on it.
So he
like-
just takes a picture
Like
of
a
his,
cheap $15 watch or whatever. I don't know how much it is, but
all right.
all it says is
question, but that's
time.
fine. Okay.
And he snaps a picture of it, and the purpose of the picture is to tell people, "Yep, he's up. He's getting after whatever he's doing. He's not being, like it's." And then the point is like other people are supposed to like comment their own pictures of their watches, like getting. It's like a little like solidarity thing, right? Like, hey, like we're all
Okay,
getting up.
okay.
We're all getting stuff done. There have like I didn't think anything of it, and then I read a few comments, and some of the comments were like commenting on like how much arm hair he has. And I was like, "That's okay." That no, they were like, I don't know. They were making a reference. I'm trying to remember. I don't know. This was a few years ago, but basically, equating the arm hair to like manliness, right? And again, whether like that's zero commentary on if that's true or not, right? Does arm hair somehow make you more manly or not? That's not the point in this conversation, right? The point is that's the stereotype that we have, and that just adds to the mental image of someone like me who does not have the sight to perceive what he actually looks like. Right? So like all these things are just little factors that add up into this overall image of the persona. Does it make sense what I'm saying?
Yes.
So that was actually very interesting hearing you describe that, Simon. I have no idea if you're right. I have no idea if I'm right.
So I actually looked at a picture, but
Oh, of Jocko Willink?
yeah, just now.
Oh, that's funny. Okay.
But now we have a problem.
Because you're
I'm
colorblind.
also not very good at this stuff either.
Yeah.
So I would say that he's actually not that tan. And his hair is short. That I can tell. That's like a definitive thing. But
Okay.
I get a little bit iffy about like skin or like body type and stuff. Fun fact, as a child, I did not know what the difference was between like a woman who is overweight and a pregnant woman. So
like visually?
yeah.
So
like people were like, "Oh, like you got to move aside for her if she's pregnant or something." And I'm like, "How do
and
you know?"
couldn't tell if they were overweight or pregnant.
Yeah, or also it might be that I couldn't tell by myself. I think if someone had explained it, I would have been able to. I would have had the ability to understand, but it wasn't something that Like sometimes you only have to point it out to me and then I'll be able to discern whatever it is. Like I don't know if you've ever had that, Francesco, where you don't know that something's there and then you bump into it, but then once you know it's there, it's like, how did I not see that? But sometimes that happens to me.
Yeah, that happens a lot with sides of curbs and walls and poles.
And so you've had, that sounds like
I've had many
troubled
encounters
past.
with things that I did not know was there. Yes, and they've made very abrupt announcements of their presence.
Yes. So yeah, I was saying that I can't really tell if it's you didn't used to be able to tell if if a lady was pregnant
Right.
or overweight. But once it was explained to me, then I could. So it's not like I didn't have the ability to see it, but I didn't know what to look for. And so I think it's similar with describing the picture. Like, yes, I looked at it, but I'm hesitant to actually tell you what I saw because now I'm going to give you my perception of the world, and someone cited might tell you, no, that's not true. But I would say that he's not that tanned, and he keeps his hair short from
Yeah,
the pictures
it's
that I
funny
see
how
here.
we can like paint different.
Yeah.
Different things will mean different things to other people. So I actually had a fun question to ask you too. So I know for me, there's definitely been a time in my past where I completely got it wrong, right? Like I thought I met someone and I thought they looked completely different from what they actually look like, right? And so I'll tell you guys one time that this has happened to me. But I want to see if you guys also have had a similar situation. So for me, the time I'm thinking of was in freshman year of college. It was the first day of freshman orientation. And I meet this girl named Rose Lynn. And in my mind, she is blonde, lights, because she's from LA. I'm pretty sure she's from LA.
I think I remember this actually.
Yeah, I think she's from LA, or I think she was. Blonde, very light skin, like very sassy girl, right? Like typical LA girl.
Yeah.
What you would think of. Turns out she was having a conversation. Like we were in a room, like the dorm apartment, right? We have like apartment style dorms. And she's having a conversation with one of my buddies. And I forgot what she said, but basically she says something about her not being white. And I turned to her and I'm like, wait a second, Rose, you're black? And that basically became our friendship for like years after that, because every time we'll see her, she's like, hey, don't forget I'm black. Like, but
this happened to me too.
Completely off, like dark hair, dark skin,
yeah,
like very, opposite. But again, it's like 99.999% of the time, I feel like the pictures that I'm making in my head when I meet new people, I feel like it's pretty accurate, and they are, because I've checked with people and whatnot. But the few times that that has been wrong, and I can count, on one hand. Like I don't need either feet or the other hand. Just on one hand, I can count how many times I've gotten it wrong. And the times that it has been wrong, it has been like universe shattering. Because it's like, what? You are? Because completely different. What about you, Simon?
Were you there when I found out Billy was black?
Yes. So, okay, this was it TriCamp?
It was TriCamp.
It was TriCamp.
Oh, no, you weren't there because, right, no, that was the first year.
No, that's exact. Okay, but again, it's almost like I was, because so many people told that story so many times because it was so hilarious. Yes. For those who don't know, Billy Davis is a dude on our triathlon team who is a single leg amputee. Awesome dude. He's black. He's a black dude. Very okay. And again, like when I first met him, there was no doubt in my mind. Like I don't even think, right? He's like in my mind, he's black.
You knew. Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Oh yeah, definitely. Okay. So did Andrew. That's why we were laughing at you. But so you want to paint the picture? Like the way I heard of it, you and he were together. And you just turned to him like, wait a second, Billy, you're black, right?
Yes, that's what happened.
And he died, yes, and has not stopped telling that story ever since.
Oh, man, that's what happened, because he just didn't, Right,
whatever it is that we use to, construct this picture in our heads, in our minds, whatever it is, it just was not working that day. Like something was not working that day. Yeah. So, Melissa, do you have a situation like that? Well, I guess maybe it's a little different for you
because I can see a little bit. But there was this one time though when I was really little, or maybe I don't know, like 7 or 8 or something. And my mom and my brother and I were getting ready to go outside. And so my brother said, I'll, and he's 2.5 years older, so he would have been like 10 or something. I don't know. And he is like, you guys are slow. I'm going to go downstairs and wait for you there. Okay. So then I get impatient. So then I go downstairs. And so I was like, hi. And I'm like, hi, Marco. That's my brother. And it turns out it's one of the girls in our building. And she's just like, I'm not. I think she's like, okay, or something. I don't remember how I found out, but I definitely found out before he showed up. But in the moment, like, it's hard when you're all kids and boys can have squeaky voices or squeakier than the girls. And I don't know how I didn't recognize my brother, but sometimes if someone only says like one word or something, you're not really paying attention to, especially if it is just like a generic squeaky little girl voice. And so that time I was just like, oh, hi, Marco. Like, fancy seeing you here. And it was not Marco. So that's something that I will never forget.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Oh,
yeah, go ahead, Simon.
Sorry. No, let's actually go on. I was going to say, I know another example of a person who I wouldn't have thought, and it's someone we know who have in the military. I think we only know one person and like actually know that person. Wes.
Oh, really?
He told me from the first day, but like until he told me, I'm like,
I'm surprised
really?
nobody's talking about Lily here.
What about Lily?
Oh yeah, I wouldn't have thought she was black either, but
yeah, that makes sense. It's so funny, like trying to piece together, trying to figure out like what about someone's personality, because it's got to be we associate certain traits with certain features.
Yes.
Right? And so we get it wrong when those certain features don't match the traits. Like it's got to be that, right? Because it's like logic. Thinking about it now, it's got to be something to do with just patterns and figuring out like what goes with what. But it's just so interesting seeing it when it breaks down, like when it doesn't work, So, but anyway, this is a subject I feel like is discussed. I mean, it's not the first time that a group of blind folks have tried to discuss how do you figure out what someone looks like. Right. But yeah.
But it's probably the first time it's been discussed in public or on air.
Very true. Go ahead, Melissa.
Well, I was going to say, even thinking about what does someone look like, I think that's a very sighted-centric way to think about it, though. Like, I guess we are speaking to a mostly sighted audience, probably. But I know that a lot of the time, don't even think about even if I can see. So, for example, I was trying to draw a little like cartoon thing for a graduation present for someone, and I spent a lot of time with this person, but when I went to draw it, I was like, wait, what does she actually look like? And so I had to go staring at some pictures of her, and I'm like, how is this possible? But whenever I think of this person, I think of her voice, even though I can see her. And so I think I lost my point, but why does this happen?
It is sighted centric, but that is sort of the topic, right? It's trying to get a sighted result from non-sighted inputs, right? Trying to like Google Translate from hearing sensor to seeing sensor, right?
Yeah, makes sense. But then, like, you don't even. Do you think about it? Like, do you have a picture? I mean, is that kind of the question?
Not super consciously all the time, but I definitely do have a general image in my head of what someone looks like when I deal with them often, and like that picture comes to mind when I think about them. Huh. Again, whether they're accurate or not, regardless.
Yeah. Like I have a feeling that if someone didn't see me, right, but they heard my voice, they'd probably get an accurate description of how I look like, or like I feel like my personality or my voice probably matches my. But
I would want to agree with you, but again, because I know what you look like, it's hard
I
to
know.
detach.
And also, like,
We should have had Andrew for this. He doesn't know what I look like. So
yeah, but he's heard you described so many times.
I
As
guess
have all, we would have to get
yes.
some people who are blind, who've been blind their whole lives, who do not know you,
yeah, that's true.
and
That's
ask them what they think you look like.
But then
That's true.
how can you say that? Because when you're born, do your genetics decide this is like the stereotypically Simon-esque features that go with this personality? So
Well,
let's
that's my
give
point.
him
So it
this.
has to be some sort of pattern or matching between the input of traits and what features we associate with those traits.
Yeah.
So I
Right?
don't
Yeah.
know that everybody would necessarily guess correctly, or I don't know what there is about your.
No, I know.
Because
That's why I'm
your
saying we would have
personality
to
isn't
get
shaped,
someone who has never seen him to be able to tell if they would guess what he actually looks like or not.
Yeah.
Right. But he said, I'm sure they would be able to guess right. But I don't know what you're basing that off of, because I don't think your voice or personality has to have it.
I think Simon
I
sounds.
think
Again, totally biased because I do know what you look like, but
Yeah.
I think your voice does sound like
What I
you are
look like.
short
yeah.
and not like I would not. Again, totally biased, but
No,
I would
I
not
agree.
say you would have. I don't think you have a voice of a muscular person, whatever that means. Again, who knows what the hell
Right.
that even means? But
No, I agree
Yeah.
too. But I just think like it's like bodies are not made.
they're not.
To-
But there's something in the communication of our
yeah.
minds and
Mm.
senses that does make that assumption.
Right.
Okay, like do you know any or have you heard any people, Jessica,
Yeah.
you thought there's no way this person, like same as me, like okay, if you heard someone with my voice, right, but someone you don't know, but someone has a similar voice to me, would you think that they could be from the military or not? Like would you make
I would, just because I know people in the military who have, like a whole bunch of different types of voices. Like I
Right,
don't
and
have that stereotype in my head, because I have met people who, like, from all different parts of the country, different types, tones and voices and stuff. So
and it'd be interesting for me to listen to some more too. I mean, I'm not saying that.
So it probably just
I-
goes back to like the thing
Yeah.
that should be common sense, but really sometimes is forgotten, is like the more
Yeah.
experience you have,
And I
the
mean,
less you have to rely on the stereotypes.
Right. And I know it's not to, of course, like I know like it's wrong to do that, but it's just like a subconscious thing. Like I feel like the more I do, the more that stereotype will just go away. And like I don't mean to do it, it just
or maybe even just the larger the sample size, right? And it's not just
Yeah.
you're not the only. We all do it.
yeah, we all do, but then there are people who try to act like they don't. So
yeah.
um,
So, all right, cool. You guys
Yeah.
have anything else to add?
I did, but my thoughts poofed out again, so I might have to wait.
Simon?
no, I really like this
Cool.
conversation.
This was a good conversation.
Yeah.
Maybe we should do like a follow-up in the future where we try to describe someone.
Oh, wait, no, my comment. Can I
Go
please
ahead.
add
What's
my
your
comment?
comment? Yeah, go.
I've been told that I either look like or sound like a Miranda. Was that you, Francesco, who told me, or someone?
That
I
does
feel
sound
like
like
I've
something I
gotten
would
that-
say.
It sounded like I got that more than once, though, and that's why I remembered the Miranda or Amanda or something like that.
You do sound like a
And- You
Miranda.
sound like
or
an
Amanda.
Amanda.
But what
Yeah.
is that? Why?
Who knows what that
do-
means? What does any of this mean? Who knows?
Like, why do names shape a person, or does the person shape a name? The
Yeah,
chicken or the egg? You know?
Yeah, when I hear a name, I generally associate. Okay,
Yeah.
like
Like
Melissa,
Simon
if
sounds
someone,
like a Simon.
yeah,
Go
if
ahead.
someone was named Thor, I don't know if you, whatever.
I have
If
a
someone was
very,
named-
very distinct like a scrawny kid with with parents who are like Marvel buffs.
what do you think of the name? Or do you ever associate names,
I-
Melissa, with physical?
Yeah, absolutely. But that's kind of my point, is like another facet to this
Yeah.
big assumptions thing is like what are we basing this off of, and if there's actually any ground to it, because a name is just like a collection of syllables that somebody thought up, and now there's people arguing that your personality changes based on what your name
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Another
I
rabbit
would
hole you
think
can get down with this is reading those the name dictionaries for like authors and what each name means.
for
Like
authors.
you know, you look up any name and it has like a whole bunch of like character descriptions and all these different things for the name. So you
And
know,
zodiacs. Oh, we're getting this a lot. But
so cool.
Cool.
All right. Well, if you are fine audience, our dozen of audience, if you would like to input something, maybe tell us a stereotype or something that you may have, or something that we got wrong in your opinion, hit us up on social media at Riding with Chestnut on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Leave us a 5-star rating and review. And hope you enjoyed episode number 23. Until next time, goodbye.
Goodbye.
bye.